Welcome, everyone. It's great to see you, and thanks for joining us for this session this evening. So, we've got something a little bit different tonight. It's not a regular class, it's in the form of a talk show, I suppose. And I have two guests with me who I will introduce shortly. Now, the theme of this evening is the lifestyle of an entrepreneur. Now, as I'm sure a lot of us know, the world has changed in the last 11 months since COVID came on the scene. And we're seeing big corporations, big companies laying off hundreds of workers, and more people are turning to alternate streams of income, realizing, is this for me? Is this something I can pursue? So that is something we are going to be looking at this evening. And our two guests, who I will introduce shortly, are entrepreneurs on that journey. So, just a couple of notes. Uh, the session itself should last about 15 to 20 minutes, the interview side with my two guests, and then we'll have time for Q&A, questions and answers afterwards. So if you have a question, please do have questions. That's partly why we're having this tonight. If you could type it in the chat during the interview, and then at the end of when we finish the questions for our guests, I will have a look through all of those. Then I want to suggest your view. The sort of most view-friendly version for tonight is if you click on your view icon and select speaker view. That way the person who's speaking will be visual in front of you. So that will be rather than gallery view where you'll see everybody, that will be the easiest way for you to view this evening. So let me introduce my two guests. So firstly, I have Mr. Nicholas Reynolds. So Nicholas, could I ask you to introduce yourself? Just let us know briefly how long you've been an entrepreneur and briefly what you were doing before.
With pleasure. Thank you, Marina. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching from. My name is Nicholas Reynolds. I live very happily with my wife, Marina, who you've been hearing from tonight. Doesn't she look lovely? Embarrass her, sorry. That wasn't scripted. Anyway, I live here in London. I've lived in London all of my life. I was born and raised to a pretty average family. My parents tried to instill in me good values like work hard, do the right thing, love your neighbor, love God. And I think I did fairly well in those things. Anyway, I went to school, studied hard, got the good grades, went to university so I could get a good job, right? Isn't that what your parents taught you to do? Well, that's what my parents taught me to do. And I got a job as a secondary school teacher. That's why I have all this gray hair. Can you see? It's not because I'm 42, it's because of the teaching. 10 years, 10 years I did in that school, and I did enjoy it. I did. I loved seeing people progress. And students were fairly easy to handle, although I really love working with people, always have done. And I've been on a bit of a journey, really. Today, I'm self-employed businessman, work on a couple of different projects, and I absolutely love what I do. Before, I had a boss and I was stressed out, and the boss controlled my salary, the boss controlled my hours. It was a very pressurized environment as well, and I was getting more and more negative, moaning and moaning and moaning. And the third thing was there wasn't much opportunity for promotion and pay rise, but it all shifted. The pivot happened a few years ago, 6 years ago. Okay, tell you what happened. Do you want to know what happened? Yes. Okay. Well, what happened was a friend introduced me to a very successful businessman, and he shared with me a very simple business plan on a piece of paper. And I didn't understand everything, but I knew it meant a better future. Entrepreneurship, I got hooked. I was intrigued and I wanted to learn from the best of the best. And this gentleman was very successful. So I decided to follow him. And so today I'm self-employed, I'm working in business, don't have a boss. I am my own boss and I have no stresses. It's a positive environment. I'm helping to build a big team, and the opportunities for progression and increasing your income, it's amazing. So if you're watching this, we would love to help you on that journey if that interests you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Nicholas, for that. Thank you for your introduction. Now I'm going to introduce our second guest, who is Sharon Marobe, and I hope I pronounced that correctly. But the lovely Sharon here. So Sharon, could I ask you to just tell us briefly a little bit about yourself, how long you've been an entrepreneur, and sort of briefly what you were doing beforehand? Thank you. Ah, you're muted, Sharon.
There we go. Sorry, I was unmuting and it said the host is not allowing you to unmute yourself. I'm panicking. I'm like, what is going on? Okay. Apart from talking a lot when I'm in a comfortable position and when I'm nervous, my name is Omphemetse Sharon Marobe. A lot of people think that my Tswana name means give me water, because when you ask for water in Tswana, you say Mphemetse, but it's actually Omphemetse, which means God protected me. And I'm a mother to a 2-year-old. She is super busy. I haven't always been an entrepreneur, but I grew up in a household where my mom was business-minded after she was retrenched from Sun City. So my mom has always been in the hospitality industry. I grew up in the hospitality industry, not working there, but obviously being around my mom and my family. So I'm from the Northwest in a place called Mokgwase. And I studied in Rustenburg, and then I went to varsity and studied hospitality management. My career had nothing to do with hospitality. In 2010, I had to leave school because the finances were a bit too much, and then I had to start working. So I worked in various places in the hospitality industry. But in 2014, I started working for a call center called WebHelp, and I was offered an opportunity to actually go work in the Cape Town offices, which is where I was for the past 5 years. Yeah, so between 2015 and 2018, I was in Cape Town, and I loved it. Like, I would go back to Cape Town any day. That place is amazing. So while I was in Cape Town, I learned a lot. I was a facilitator in a call center, so I taught a lot of product knowledge, customer service, and all of those other things, how to talk to people, how to be calm, all the things that I wasn't. So I learned so much. And I think that platform actually taught me how to start facilitating what I've learned from Young Living. But anyway, long story short, I was back home, so I had to come back home during maternity leave, and I gave birth to my daughter. And after my daughter was born, I was unfortunately not able to go back to Cape Town, so I had to now come back home. The stress of having to be a single parent mom got me to think about other things, but it never really worked. So I'm guessing Marina is going to introduce all of those other questions moving forward. But yeah, before I met the beautiful Marina and Nicholas, I was just a single mom, really screaming for help from the inside. Thank God I didn't have postnatal depression, because I was 5 seconds away from that.
Yeah. I mean, what specifically at that time, Sharon, attracted you to entrepreneurship, or had you not been, looking specifically for it? So what attracted you to the opportunity when it came your way? And in this specific call, we're not naming names of companies as such. So the company that you got attracted to, what was it that attracted you, or to entrepreneurship as a whole?
Like I explained to Nicholas, the one thing that I wanted for myself personally was because being a mom makes you aware of a whole lot of things, and your perception about things change. What you think you want and what you actually want and need becomes completely different, because now you become so, I don't know, like your mentality just changes. It's more about other people now and less about yourself. So what I wanted was an opportunity that allowed me to be influential, not just on an individual level, but on a family perspective. But also I told Nicholas that I had prayed for something that comes my way that will not draw me away from God, but draw me closer to him, and allow that to actually that company to be a ministry to fulfill the work of the Lord. So yeah, basically that's it. That sold me. The video that I saw of one of our business partners about grace and God and faith and all of it, I was like, sold. God, yep, that's the one. Because I wasn't willing to do anything that was going to second guess my spirituality, second guess my Christianity, second guess if I'm doing this correctly and if I'm serving God while I'm doing it. So yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I think it's important in any line, isn't it? If you have conviction and belief in what you're doing, then that carries you 50% of the way. I'm going to turn towards Nicholas now. And so Nicholas is successful in the field specifically of network marketing, which is a form of business model. Now, Nicholas, how does this differ, network marketing as such, differ from traditional business? Can you shed some light on that?
I would love to, because there's a lot of misunderstanding and misconceptions around this industry of network marketing. First thing I'll tell you, it's not work marketing. It's not do nothing, pay money and do nothing and then make loads of money. It's not a get rich quick scheme. It's real work. It's real business where you make real money by doing real work and getting real customers. Okay, so network marketing is otherwise known as referral marketing, relationship marketing, multi-level marketing. It's not a pyramid scheme. Oh, the number of times people say, is it a pyramid scheme? No, I'm not the cleverest person in the world, but I'm not stupid either. Pyramid schemes are illegal and I wouldn't get involved in something dodgy. Okay, I've done my research. Anyway, a pyramid scheme is where you, just for the record, because most people don't know what a pyramid scheme is. Pyramid scheme is where you make money on the recruitment of other people, and you can tell it's a pyramid scheme because there's no product or service being sold. So I'm involved in network marketing. It's like a $200 billion industry worldwide. There's thousands of companies that use this network marketing business model, and just to help you understand how it's different from a traditional business. See, in a traditional business, you're dealing with the product from start to finish, and there's lots of different steps in that distribution chain. So if you think something gets manufactured, then it gets delivered to the warehouse, it gets loaded onto a ship, it gets transported around the world, then it's unloaded, put in a warehouse, then it's taken on a lorry to a distribution center, and then it gets distributed to the shops, and then the retailers sell them and customers come and buy. So in network marketing, we are the middleman. We cut out all of that middleman. We are the distributors. We go to the customer with the product. So we cut out all of the advertising, all of the marketing, all of the YouTube videos and the Facebook ads and the magazine adverts and the billboard adverts and the TV adverts, and think how much money those adverts cost. And at the end of the day, who pays for those things? It's the customer. So if you can cut out the middleman, all of that advertising, and you be the network marketer, you be the agent, the distributor, the independent business owner, then the customer can get better value and they can also get educated. And that's a really important thing in network marketing, because we are doing the marketing, not selling, but marketing, acquiring the customers. We are educating people. And this is something I've learned as well. People like to do business with people they like, and people like to buy from people they trust. Okay, people buy from you because not just because they like the product or the service, but they buying into you, your vision, your dream. And that's why some people, they won't become your customer, they'll actually become your business partner. They'll come and join you on that journey because they see that you have something that they need. And I'm so proud of this industry. And just to give you 4 key differences between setting up a traditional business and getting into business and network marketing. Here they are. In a traditional business, the investment, there's a lot of investment. When I set up my traditional business as a photographer, I spent around £5,000-6,000 on day one. That was even before I had the first customer. And there was years and years of practicing the skill to get good enough to photograph weddings, etc. In network marketing, you're not investing. There will be probably a small cost at the beginning, maybe to buy some product or just to get the license, because to be in business, you need a license. In You have a TV, you need a license. To be in business, you need a license as well. Second thing, there's 100% risk in a traditional business. You're investing a lot of money and there's no guarantee you're going to find customers, no guarantee it's going to work. You have a lot of risk. In network marketing, there really is no risk. What you're investing is your time. There's a small cost, there's no investment really, but you're investing your time. And the biggest investment you can make is in yourself. The third thing is, in traditional business, you need experience. Like with my photography, I needed experience before I could go and sell my services. To set up a restaurant, you're going to need experience, okay? But in network marketing, it's the most equal opportunity on the planet. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, yellow, green, brown, blue. Doesn't matter if you're young, if you're old, if you're Asian, if you're Christian, if you're Muslim, if you're Hindu. It doesn't matter what your education record says. It doesn't matter about your criminal record. None of that matters. All that matters is three things. You're hungry, you're willing, and you're coachable. Very, very important. And the fourth thing is, in a traditional business, you end up having to wear so many hats, or you have to employ people to do different things, and it can be really stressful and hard. And ultimately, you don't have any time freedom. It doesn't matter how much money your business makes, it's going to obviously take time to get there. But if the true test of a business is, will it be successful with or without you? Can you go on a 2-month holiday and will your business continue to run fine? In traditional business where you are the CEO or the boss, you've got to keep your finger on the pulse. You've got to know what's going on. And yes, of course, people can build a traditional business and become very successful. But in network marketing, it's a lot less stress. And ultimately, you can get time freedom because you get to actually leverage your time. And that's a topic for another day, the concept of leverage and residual income. Hope that helps.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that brings a lot of clarity over a form of business which is really coming to light as a more popular model for the untrained business person. I think we're seeing a lot of people turn to the model of network marketing in this day and age. But so I'm going to go back to Sharon now, and I'm going to ask, so Sharon, you've been on a journey of entrepreneurship for, I'd say, coming up to a couple of years now, give or take. Is that right? So my question is, if from your experience, are there any common myths about being an entrepreneur that you can dispel for us tonight, that you can debunk? So I'm asking you to be a myth buster, if you like, about the life of an entrepreneur. Is there anything that, you know, maybe some people have rose tinted glasses and unrealistic ideas about what it's like, and there's some amazing bonuses and advantages that Nicholas has just highlighted to us, but for you, what is an entrepreneurship not?
So when I went into entrepreneurship, everybody was just talking about how you can be this billionaire and millionaire overnight, and they were showcasing pictures, but nobody really showed the video. And the video actually takes you through the process, and people don't speak about the process, but they speak about the victories. And the one myth is that money is not just gonna waltz into my bank account and do the Michael Jackson from me just sitting at home and looking at my phone. I actually need to put in the work. And that was such a quick realization for me, because I was like, if entrepreneurship requires me to do the work, then it's basically me taking the efforts that I used in the corporate world that I was in, where every morning you wake up and you go to work and you basically give 110%, sometimes even more. You're the first to get there, the last to get out. And if I can do that for a corporate company that didn't even pay me an amount that I'm actually able to make within a short space of time, then why can't I do it with my current business and basically just execute what I was executing in the corporate business? And the other myth is that you can be a winner on your own, because, you know, a lot of people that were in the network marketing business, they were like, yeah, I got this, and I'm like, oh, okay, so you have to do this on your own. And I was like, okay, but this sucks, I can't do this on my own. And that was the other myth that I went into entrepreneurship thinking that it's true, that if I do this on my own, I'm going to excel, you know, I'm going to be better than everybody else. And then I joined a network marketing business and an entrepreneur business that allowed me to understand that it's all about teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. And I was just like, okay, that's amazing. And I think the last myth buster that I had to come to terms with is the fact that you don't need a database when you're an entrepreneur. And that is crazy. It's like not knowing if you're a manager, who's your supervisor or who's your team manager. Like, let's say in the facilitation world, it's like a training manager not knowing how many facilitators they have and which classes they're training. And having a list and understanding every single person that you interact with is just as important as you going to work and clocking in and making sure that you're doing everything that you're doing. So those are the three myths that I went into entrepreneurship thinking that, listen, I'm just going to get this going and everything's going to work out and the pieces of the puzzles are going to place themselves together. And I was just in for a rude awakening.
Thank you. And I think it is important to address some of these myths because they're, you know, like with anything, if business is an unknown world to a person and they go into it with these expectations that are unreal or with ways of working that aren't going to be effective, then it's best to know that ahead of time. So that's actually partly why we put together this interview this evening, to give people sort of a perspective from two people who are running with entrepreneurship successfully. So I'm gonna cast my final question back towards Nicholas. And just before I do that, guys, if you have any questions at all, or this is, planting an idea in your head and you'd like to run it by one of our experts here, just please type it in the chat and we will come to the Q&A after this final question. So back to Nicholas. So why do you think in this day and age, why is it important to have a side hustle? Because for most of us, or for most people, business will be a side hustle to begin with. Am I right in saying that? Like, there's not many people who would drop the 9-to-5 to dive straight into business. So why is it important to start on that journey of developing something on the side? Over to you.
Great question. Love to answer that. Thanks, Marina. And well done, Sharon. Those myths, powerful. It's really good. It's really, really exciting to see you presenting here tonight. And it's great to be teaming up tonight on this call. It's wonderful. So I would say that there's so many benefits of being involved in network marketing, and it's so important to have a side hustle. I mean, I put a post on my Instagram just the other night. There's many different ways to become an entrepreneur. You could become a coach. You could set up a business and write a blog. You could get involved in mentoring people. You could set up an online shop selling things. But network marketing is a great vehicle for people because, you see, the infrastructure is already set up. The company is already there. There's already the product that's been manufactured. You don't need to deal with any of that. A lot of the marketing materials and the resources, the training, there's a system in place where you just need to plug into the system and the events. Like, when you are doing network marketing,
I mean, we're talking generally about business, whether it's, obviously your field is network marketing, but yes. Why, and there are many advantages to that, like you said, but generally, why is it important to develop a business, whatever model that is on the side? Like,
yes.
Why?
So if you have a car, your car has 4 wheels normally. Does your car have a plan B? A spare wheel? Yes, it has a spare wheel. Well, some modern ones don't actually, but anyway, you get the idea. If it's important for your car to have a plan B, how much more important is it for your life to have a plan B, your financial future, your well-being for you and your family? Isn't it important to have a plan B? As the saying goes, don't put all your eggs into one basket. So if you're just relying upon a job or one income as your salary, great, maybe you're making lots of money, but what happens if your job stops or COVID hits and you can't work? Or what happens if, God forbid, your health suffers? Where will the money come from? Because most people are just making a linear income if they're exchanging their time for money. And you can learn more about this in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. But here's some statistics that I want you to hear. Now, this is based upon Europe. So I'm not sure what it is around the world. Maybe it's even worse than this. But it says that 1 in 3 Europeans have no savings. That means that if they lost their job, they would not last very long at all. Isn't that scary? I mean, maybe where do you factor in that? 1 in 3 Europeans have no savings. Second, the average pension in the European Union is less than £500 a month. So you mean to say you work for 40 hours a week for 40 years of your life, and they're going to give you 40% as salary, as a pension, 40% of your salary as a pension, £500, it's about right. Could you survive, live comfortably on that? And here's the third thing, 75% of Europeans don't have enough to cover 6 months of living expenses. And this COVID pandemic or plandemic, whatever you think, 1.69 million, well, let's just say 1.7 plus people have lost their jobs. And I learned something from one of the top economists in the world, Paul Zane Pilsner. He said, the problem isn't, is there enough money on the planet? There's enough money for everyone, okay? The problem isn't, is there enough money? The problem we've got is, what are we going to do with all of the unemployed, displaced people? I learned that from watching a video called The Rise of the Entrepreneur. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. It talks a lot about the statistics, the challenges in the world of employment, and how different ways to get into business. It talks about 4 different ways that you could start a business, start something on the side. It's very, very educational. It's a 50-minute documentary. We'd love to make sure that you get your hands on that. So do contact Marina afterwards. Hope that helps.
Excellent. And I just want to give a massive thank you to our 2 speakers this evening for taking the time out of your busy schedules to just give some insight into your lives, and for giving just some clarity, I think, to the rest of us and to our audience here who may be considering developing something for themselves on the side. But I think you've really given a lot of clarity this evening, and especially coming from credible people such as yourselves. And I say credible and successful because at the end of it, you're making a living with your respective businesses, and that really is the beginnings of success, isn't it? So thank you really once again. And at this point, I want to open the floor to our audience who's here on the call, and see if there are any questions for either of our speakers. I also just want to let you know there's 7 minutes left on this particular meeting. If we have a lot of questions, we can re-enter the meeting when this one ends on exactly the same link. But yeah, at this point, if you have a question, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask. I see Stella, Barry, you have your hand raised, so you're welcome to unmute your mic and ask the question. Okay, hang on, I will see if I can unmute you. Hang on a second, Stella.
Lovely, thank you. I couldn't unmute myself. How are you?
What question do you have today for our speakers?
Yeah, I just wondered, like, I'm very keen to start the business, but coming up with the startup fund is a challenge. What would you suggest or recommend that I do?
Excellent question.
Great question for Sharon, because she had the same challenge.
Sharon,
Awesome.
go ahead.
Okay, it is a great question for me because I was in the exact same position. And I asked my mom and my sister, so I basically asked my family. And from the first sales that I made, I then repaid them. But also what some people have done during the time that I have been part of this network marketing company is that they have, so we call it a stokvel in South Africa. And basically it's when you group yourselves and you guys contribute towards one thing. So in South Africa, it's like a money thing where like a group of women would come together and they would contribute financially towards one woman, and it would take an amount of time, and maybe there's 10 women. So for 10 months, we'll be giving 500 Rand each to that person, and the accumulation of it will then go to one person. So what has taken place is we've seen that happen with the stokvel, and then they contribute for one person, and then the next month they contribute to the next person. So there's really different ways of doing it. It's just that we need to learn how to think out of the box and use already existing systems to kind of facilitate that.
Excellent, thank you, Sharon. I think it comes down in large part to where there's a will, there's a way, isn't it? And those things, is that example, isn't it? If you know, your brother's broke and he's gonna be chucked out of his house if he doesn't give this payment, you're going to do everything you can for your brother to, even if you haven't got the money, you're going to do whatever you can to make sure he gets to stay in his house. So it's, I guess it comes down to that, doesn't it, in a large part? What is important to you, and what is your vision with this?
Marina, I can just add something very quickly on that.
Yes.
What I've found in my experience of being involved in business is that the people that have the most success are not necessarily the most clever or intelligent. I know people far less ability than me, but they're making so much more money. It's partly because they've followed the system. Maybe they've been involved for longer, but I've also seen that it's hungry people. They always find the solution. But people sometimes know too much. They come up with all the problems, all the reasons why not to do something. And so mindset is a key thing, and developing a positive mindset. I will find a way. Richard Branson, there's a famous quote that you'll probably see going around. He says, if someone shows you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, which is normal, we doubt, we have fears. If someone shows you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, just say yes. Make a decision. Say yes to success. You might be scared, but say yes, and you'll figure out the how later, the how. And so in a way, with network marketing, if it was free, a lot of people would come in, but most people would do absolutely nothing. It would be a pain in the backside trying to deal with all these people because you don't know who's serious. But the small cost of entry is nothing in comparison. You know, a mobile phone probably costs 5 times as much as it costs to get involved in network marketing. Where there's a will, there's a way. But that's like a little test. If the finances are so tight that getting started in the business is difficult, then use that hunger to motivate you to find a way, and then really commit to the journey. Because network marketing is not easy. It's an emotional roller coaster. It's a business where you're dealing with people. And guess what? I found out about most people. They're weird. You've got to have a big heart for people, and you've got to become a good leader, a person of influence that really cares for people. Because if you care enough for people and help them, enough people get what they want, you'll also get what you want. So I hope that helps.
Thanks, Nicholas. So I'm going to read the question I had for the Nomvula put in the chat. Unless, Nomvula, you're welcome to unmute yourself and ask the question, but otherwise I'm very happy to read it because I took a snapshot of the question. Okay, so I'm going to read it. The question, I'm going to direct this one to actually both our guests, if you'd like to, both of you just sort of chip in there. So, is there such a thing as I'm not a salesperson? I've tried to sell a few different things, but I get so discouraged every time I get turned down, especially from people who I expected a positive response from. So I'll put that to both of our speakers. What advice do you have for someone with, and I think this is actually something that I've come across a lot on my journey with business, this kind of fear. So yeah, putting it out there to my two speakers.
Ladies first, Sharon.
I knew you'd do that. Okay, cool. I want to just say Nomvula, I was exactly the same. You know, when Nicholas introduced me, I was like, not terrible at that. I can't even convince anyone in my family to do anything. So this is not gonna work. And you know, it's always so funny how you remember things that happened in the past. And the one thing that actually got me to get to that point of overcoming the disappointment after being turned down is, so when I was in Cape Town, I was an usher, right, at a church, and so they called us the Red Brigade. And every single time you would ask someone to go sit in a specific chair, they would just be like, no, I don't want to sit there. I want to go sit there. And you're like, but ma'am, we were asked really nicely to allocate seats to people so that people could sit. So every single time I thought of being discouraged, I thought about all those times I was turned out by people coming into the church and not wanting to sit where I asked them to sit. And you start realizing that certain things or certain events in your life actually prepare you for specific outcomes. And for me, it took a church ushering experience to get me to understand that it's exactly the same principle, it's just a different experiment. So instead of being turned down for sitting on a chair, I'm being turned down for not wanting to have a product right now. And they might not need it at that point. And so you always have to teach yourself that it's nothing personal at all.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Sharon. Gosh, I think we all need that lesson in life. It's not personal. Oh, goodness. Nicholas, have you got anything you would like to add to
yeah, it's a question I get a lot. Oh, do you mean I've got to sell something? Well, what is sales? The art of selling, I think, is one of the most noble professions and skills. I mean, everything is sales. I mean, a kid wants an ice cream, goes to mummy, she says no. But the next minute, the kid's got an ice cream. Why? Because he went to daddy. The kid sells. If you're going to go and get a job, you got to sell yourself. You write a CV, you go and do the application, you go and sell yourself at the interview. To get married, you sell. And there's no taking the product back. It's one time. That's my belief anyway. Everything is selling. Selling is educating people, is showing people that you have a solution to a problem that they have. So the simple maths is that if you can make some money by doing that transaction, by providing a product or a service or to somebody to solve their need, then if you can monetize that, then the way you make more money is not by necessarily becoming a better salesperson, but it's just having more customers, solving more problems. And one of my mentors, George Zaluki, he said, in business, if you focus on the money will elude you. But if you focus on solving problems, always be looking for the problem. And that's what I define an entrepreneur. I call myself an entrepreneur. What does an entrepreneur do? They add value to people's lives and they solve problems. You give me a problem and I'll show you perhaps how entrepreneurship and business can solve it. So let's become problem solvers. Let's look for ways of adding more value in the marketplace. That's how you become more valuable, and you can apply that in your job. Are there people that earn more money in your job? Yes. Well, it's because they bring more value. They've trained, they've studied to be able to work at a higher level. That's why the company pays them more, because they bring more value to the workplace. So become a person of more value, and money is just a reflection of the value you bring to society. I believe that.
Thanks, Nicholas. And certainly there are a lot of, I think I need to just for free, I think a lot of successful businesses work with relationship as well. So it's not always just about pushing sales. But just as a freebie on the end, we'll be winding up shortly, is there's a lot of trainings you can get for free on business and on business skills, selling skills, on social media, on Facebook, on Instagram, a lot of free resources. So that brings us to the end of our interview. So thank you once again to our two fantastic speakers. And yeah, once again, we really appreciate your time and everything you've given to us this evening. I'm just going to open the floor one more time. Are there any final questions? And if you can't think of a question now, you can put your answers on a postcard and send them to me. Sorry, I cannot resist saying that. You can contact myself or Nicholas or whoever invited you on this meeting, and we will get in touch with an answer. But yeah, if there are any more questions, you can unmute your mic and ask now.
Or forever hold your peace.
Melissa, you have your hand raised. Go for it.
Hi everyone. So I just want to thank you for this amazing session. It's really informative and so valuable. Just like I'm learning so much, and like I'm really like just encouraged by everything that I've heard this evening. But I just want to ask, like, if there's one thing that Nick and Sharon that you'd like, just like one or the most important bit of advice that you'd give someone, like one of us who are wanting to start out, wanting to definitely like start something on the side, what would that be based on your experience?
Over to the speakers.
Sharon, I'll give you a little bit more time to think. I've thought of my thing. Have a why that makes you cry. One of my mentors, she was a multi-millionaire. She taught me this. She said, if your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough. Okay. You need to have a why that makes you cry. Have something, be part of something that's so much bigger than just yourself. So when I speak to people and I help them launch a new business partner, one of the first things I'll ask them is, what are your goals? What do you want to get out of it? What do you want to achieve? Where do you want to be 5 years, 10 years, 20 years from now? You know, most people, if you go into your workplace tomorrow and ask people, where do you think you'll be 5 years from now? Most people, you know what they say? I don't know. Well, guess what? You do know where they'll be. I know where you'll be. Really? What? How? You'll probably be in just about the same place you are right now, just maybe a little bit further ahead. You see, I think a group of 100 Harvard students were interviewed, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but put it this way: the people that had goals performed way, way better. 10 years later, they were performing way, way better than those that didn't have any goals. But the ones that had written their goals down did way better than the people that had goals, and obviously way, 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 way better than people that had no goals. So the point is, write your goals down. As the Bible says, the good book, write the vision down, make it plain. You've got to have a vision for your life. You've got to have a vision for where you want to be. You might not achieve it, but as the saying goes, you know, aim for the moon, and if you miss, you fall amongst the stars. So, you know, without vision, we perish. So my advice would be, know what you want and make sure that that thing is not just about you. It's about your children. It's about leaving a legacy. It's about others. And I believe you'll become a lot more successful and be a lot more happy in life. Over to you, Sharon.
Thank you. Wow, Nicholas, what do you want me to say after you say all of that? Like, you know, it's like the end of the movie. Let's all go home. Just joking. But I'd also like to add, apart from what Nicholas has said, is that, you know, it's true what Nicholas is saying, because when I started, I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a vision. And my vision started when people started asking me things about the company. And through learning and understanding what it is that I've gotten myself into, actually opened up doors to things that I've already dreamt of, but they were like, how do I call it? They were a connecting part of the puzzle. So when you do go into it, like you might be where I was when I first entered, and I had no idea whatsoever. What am I doing? When is this going to bring forth fruit? And you get into it and start learning about it, and you start realizing that actually I'm part of something bigger than just one target market, because the whole world is your target market basically, and you could just discover whatever it is that you're passionate about through it. So yeah, that is my advice, because I didn't have a vision board, I didn't have goals, but now I can say to you a year later, yes, like I can have a whole show about what I'm doing right now. I can teach you about it, I can tell you about it. You could buy the entire company by the time I'm done. But it's because when you start loving, and companies have visions and missions, and when you start incorporating yourself and consecrating yourself to what the vision and the mission of that business is, you start allowing yourself to flourish in it. The Bible says those who are planted will flourish. It's exactly the same. It doesn't just apply to your spiritual life, but everywhere. And if you plant yourself in the business that you're going to go into, you will start seeing other things that can form around it that could actually equip you for where you are positioned. It's very important for you to know that. So yeah, that's my courtesy.
Thank you, Sharon. Thank you, Nicholas. Okay, I am gonna ask one more time if there's any final questions, and remember, you can ask questions when the call is finished. You can just send them to myself or to the person who invited you. Great. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up this call. Thank you very much once again for joining for your evening. Thank you to our guest speakers, to Nicholas Reynolds and Sharon Mrobe. Thank you for your time and expertise, and thank you to everyone who's watching tonight, who tuned in. And yeah, watch out for the next session. We will see you very soon.